Breaking news. The wrestling world has been shaken to its very core tonight, and I mean absolutely rattled in ways fans could never have imagined. Charlotte Flair, the Queen, the woman who carried the Flair name into a new era, has had her future in WWE thrown into chaos after a shocking medical revelation that no one, absolutely no one, saw coming. And now, a doctor close to the situation has made a confession that has the entire WWE Universe exploding with outrage, heartbreak, and disbelief. Let's not dance around it. Let's not sugarcoat this for 1 second. The truth is brutal, and the truth is ugly. Charlotte Flair has been diagnosed with cancer. Yes, you heard that right. The daughter of the legendary Ric Flair, the 16-time women's champion who redefined dominance in WWE, is now fighting a battle outside the ring that no title, no main event, no accolade can prepare her for. And the wrestling world is reeling. But it's not just the diagnosis that has everyone furious, it's what came next. According to reports and a doctor who has now spoken out, Charlotte's health status was being quietly pushed aside, ignored, and even downplayed because WWE allegedly didn't want her medical issues interfering with their WrestleMania season plans. Let that sink in. While Charlotte's body was crying out for help, while she was silently dealing with pain that went far beyond the bumps and bruises of the squared circle, the machine that is WWE allegedly tried to keep her quiet, to keep this diagnosis under wraps. That revelation alone has fans seething. And why wouldn't they be? We're talking about one of the greatest women's wrestlers of all time, a cornerstone of the division, the woman who literally gave her blood, sweat, and tears to this company, being treated as if her health is just a scheduling inconvenience. And now, with her future hanging in the balance, the fans are demanding answers. Let's rewind the clock for a moment, because the signs were there. Go back to Charlotte's last few matches. Look closely. Her speed wasn't the same, her explosiveness was cut in half, and the trademark stamina that always carried her through those 20-minute classics suddenly wasn't there. People online noticed. Some fans even speculated injuries or burnout. But now, the truth hits harder than a steel chair to the skull. Charlotte wasn't just tired, she was sick. And sick in a way that no amount of training, no amount of ring time, could fix. And here's where the fury grows louder. A doctor who was part of Charlotte's medical evaluation has now spoken out, and what he revealed will have you shaking your head in disgust. According to him, Charlotte's condition was discovered earlier than WWE is willing to admit. She reportedly underwent tests months ago after complaining of fatigue and unexplained physical strain, but instead of immediately pulling her from competition, there was pushback. There were whispers of officials urging her to push through it, to hold off on saying anything, also they could squeeze just a little more star power out of her name heading into major events. If this is true, it's not just negligence, it's exploitation. A woman battling cancer being told to keep working because the company couldn't afford to lose her. That's not just a bad look, that's downright disgusting. And fans know it. Social media is on fire right now, with hashtags like #pray for Charlotte and #WWE exposed trending worldwide. Now let's talk about the impact. Because this isn't just a personal battle for Charlotte, it's a turning point for WWE's women's division. Charlotte Flair was not just another superstar. She was the standard bearer, the measuring stick, the one every new female talent was compared to. Every main event she was in raised the bar, and every championship reign she had reminded the world of the Flair legacy. Now, with her future uncertain, the division feels like it's standing on shaky ground. Who steps up? Who fills that void? And more importantly, how does WWE even begin to repair the damage of being accused of hiding her condition? Fans aren't stupid. They've seen this play out before. Wrestlers pushed past their limits, ignored when they voiced concerns, and then tossed aside when their bodies couldn't keep up. But this is on another level. We're not talking about a nagging injury. We're not talking about a minor surgery. We're talking about cancer, a disease that doesn't care about contracts, doesn't care about main events, doesn't care about ratings. And for WWE to allegedly prioritize storylines over her health is the exact kind of corporate greed that fans have been accusing them of for years. And the doctor's statement doesn't stop there. He claims Charlotte's diagnosis is serious and requires immediate, aggressive treatment. Radiation, chemotherapy, time away from the ring, potentially a long, indefinite stretch of time. And while Charlotte reportedly broke down upon hearing the news, the first thing she asked was about her career. Imagine that. A woman whose body is literally fighting to survive still worrying about whether or not she'll ever hear her entrance music echo through an arena again. That's not just passion. That's obsession. That's dedication. That's Charlotte Flair. But the doctor went further, revealing that while her prognosis is hopeful if treatment begins without delay, the longer WWE stalls or interferes, the greater the risks become. Translation. Every day she spends trying to appease the company instead of focusing 100% on recovery is another day the disease gets stronger. And the fact that this even has to be said out loud is enraging fans. How could any company, let alone one as massive and wealthy as WWE, play games with someone's life? And this revelation isn't just angering fans, it's dividing the locker room. Reports suggest that multiple superstars, both men and women, are furious at management for how Charlotte's situation has been handled. One unnamed talent even said, if they can do this to Charlotte Flair, Ric Flair's daughter, one of the most decorated champions in history, what chance do the rest of us have? That statement alone has lit a firestorm, with other wrestlers quietly backing it up. There is growing fear that this isn't an isolated case, that other superstars may have had their health compromised in the name of business. Think about the ripple effect here. Charlotte Flair's fight is now symbolic of something much bigger. It's about every wrestler who ever stepped into that ring hurt because the company pressured them to. It's about every performer who ignored doctors' orders because they were told the show must go on. And now, with a diagnosis as devastating as cancer, the ugly side of that mentality is laid bare for the entire world to see. And let's not forget the emotional toll. Ric Flair himself has not spoken publicly about his daughter's diagnosis yet, but those close to him have said he is shattered. This is a man who has already lived through near-death experiences of his own, a man who watched his son Reed tragically lose his life far too young, and now, he's watching his daughter fight a battle that money, fame, and wrestling legacy can't simply fix. So where does this leave Charlotte's WWE future? According to the doctor's revelation, the answer is grim but clear. Unless WWE allows her to step away immediately and fully focus on treatment, her career, and potentially her life, are in jeopardy. He said, in no uncertain terms, wrestling should be the last thing on her mind right now. If she doesn't prioritize treatment, there may not be a career left to come back to. Fans are heartbroken. They're angry. They're demanding accountability. Because this isn't just about a wrestler's storyline, it's about a human being's life. And the fact that we even have to question whether WWE will do the right thing is exactly why this story has exploded across the wrestling world. The fallout from this revelation is spreading like wildfire, and the deeper we go, the more disturbing this entire situation becomes. Fans who once believed WWE had finally turned the corner on respecting its talent's health and well-being are now pointing to Charlotte Flair's story as proof that nothing has really changed. That beneath the glitz, the fireworks, and the corporate PR machine, the same old cold-blooded mentality of, the show must go on, still rules the day. And this time, the cost could be far greater than anyone imagined. Let's talk about the locker room, because what's happening behind the curtain right now might be even more explosive than what the fans see online. Multiple sources are reporting that Charlotte's closest friends in WWE are furious, not just angry in passing, but ready to confront management head-on. Becky Lynch, who has had her share of real-life tension with Charlotte over the years, is reportedly one of the loudest voices demanding that WWE give Charlotte the full time and support she needs to fight this battle. We fight in the ring, but this is different, one insider claimed Becky said privately. This is life and death. If they don't protect her, they're finished. Think about how big that is. For years, Charlotte and Becky were rivals inside and outside the ring. Their personal animosity was the stuff of headlines. But when something this serious happens, all of that fades away, and what you're left with is real, raw humanity. And Becky stepping up like this only underscores how serious the situation truly is. And it's not just Becky. Bayley, Sasha Banks, yes, even from outside WWE, have reportedly reached out privately to Charlotte, showing support and sharing resources. It's a moment where the entire wrestling world, regardless of company or allegiance, is rallying around one woman who now represents so much more than titles and storylines. Meanwhile, the silence from WWE management is deafening. No official statement, no acknowledgement, no clear plan of action. And that silence is only fueling the fire. Fans are interpreting it as guilt. They're saying, if WWE had nothing to hide, why aren't they talking? Why aren't they transparent about Charlotte's health? Instead, what we're seeing is the company putting out vague press releases about injury recovery and time off for personal reasons, while the real, devastating truth gets revealed by a doctor who decided he couldn't stay quiet any longer. And speaking of that doctor, his credibility is being attacked by certain corners of the wrestling business who are accusing him of overstepping by making this information public. But let's be real here, without him, would fans even know the truth? Or would WWE have continued to push Charlotte until her body completely gave out? That's the question people are asking right now. Now let's zoom out for a second and look at what this means for WWE's women's division. Charlotte Flair was supposed to headline huge storylines in the months ahead. There were rumors of another clash with Rhea Ripley, a potential WrestleMania showdown that fans were already fantasy booking. But all of that is now in jeopardy. Instead of being in the spotlight, Charlotte is being forced to step into a fight she never signed up for. And as heartbreaking as that is, what makes fans truly furious is that this fight could have been made easier if WWE had acted sooner. The timing makes this worse. WrestleMania season is the biggest money-making period of the year for WWE, and the idea that the company may have intentionally kept Charlotte's diagnosis quiet just to avoid damaging ticket sales or storylines is sparking outrage not just among fans, but among analysts, journalists, and even former wrestlers who know exactly how brutal this business can be. Hall of Famer after Hall of Famer is weighing in, and the opinions are scathing. "This is the dirtiest thing I've ever seen," one legend said on a podcast earlier today. If it's true that they told Charlotte to keep quiet about cancer, then shame on every single person in that office. And that shame is beginning to stick. WWE has worked for years to build its women's evolution narrative, parading the idea that they treat their female talent as equals, giving them main events, marquee matches, and opportunities that once felt impossible. But this revelation rips the mask off that narrative. Because if behind all that PR hype, they were pressuring their biggest female star to hide a life-threatening diagnosis, then what was it all for? Was it ever truly about empowering women, or was it just about making money off their sacrifices? And let's not forget the human side of this, Charlotte herself. Reports say she broke down when the doctor laid it all out for her. The treatments, the side effects, the time away, the uncertainty of whether she would ever wrestle again. And yet, in true Flair fashion, her first reaction wasn't just sadness, it was rage. Rage at being kept in the dark. Rage at being told to carry on as if nothing was wrong. Rage at being treated like a commodity instead of a human being. According to someone close to her, Charlotte said, "They knew something was wrong. They knew I needed help. And instead of pulling me out, they pushed me harder." That raw, gut-wrenching honesty is what fans are clinging to right now. Because Charlotte Flair isn't just a character on TV, she's a daughter, a sister, a wife, a human being. And seeing her put in this position has people questioning everything they thought they knew about WWE. And where is Ric Flair in all of this? The nature boy, the icon, the man who has lived through more highs and lows than most could ever imagine, is said to be absolutely devastated. Sources close to him have said he's barely holding it together, pacing the floor, constantly calling doctors, demanding answers, begging for updates. This is a man who has faced death multiple times, who lost his own son Reed to tragedy, and now he's watching his daughter face the fight of her life. And the thought that his daughter's employer might have put her in even greater danger. That's the kind of betrayal that cuts deeper than any knife. And if Rick decides to speak out, let me tell you, the fallout could be nuclear. Ric Flair is not just a legend, he's a voice that fans respect, a voice that commands attention. If he goes public with his anger, if he confirms what the doctor has already said, WWE won't just be facing backlash from fans, they'll be facing a full-blown crisis. Meanwhile, Charlotte's peers in other companies are also taking notice. AEW stars, Impact Wrestling talents, even independent wrestlers are sharing messages of support, while subtly taking jabs at WWE's handling of this. The wrestling world is uniting behind Charlotte in a way we haven't seen in years, and in doing so, they're drawing a line in the sand. Either you stand with the talent, or you stand with the machine. But let's not ignore the elephant in the room. What happens if Charlotte Flair never wrestles again? What happens if cancer takes away the career of the most decorated woman in WWE history? The division changes forever. The landscape shifts. And WWE loses not just a superstar, but a cornerstone. Fans are already asking, can the women's division survive without her? Will stars like Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, or Asuka be able to carry the torch? And while those women are undeniably talented, the truth is that Charlotte Flair brought something unique, a mix of legacy, dominance, and presence that can't simply be replaced. And yet, despite the odds, despite the grim diagnosis, Charlotte has reportedly told those close to her that she plans to fight with everything she has. "I've beaten every challenge they've put in front of me," she said. "I'm not about to lose this one." That statement alone has fans rallying, turning heartbreak into hope, turning anger into determination to support her through this. But let's be crystal clear, the anger isn't going away. Fans aren't letting WWE off the hook this time. They want transparency. They want accountability. And more than anything, they want Charlotte Flair to get the respect and care she deserves. The story has already torn through the wrestling community like wildfire, but now it's spilling out beyond the squared circle. Mainstream media outlets are starting to pick it up, health advocates are weighing in, and fans around the globe are uniting in a way WWE hasn't seen since some of the darkest scandals in its history. The revelation about Charlotte Flair's cancer diagnosis and WWE's alleged attempt to bury the truth isn't just a wrestling story anymore, it's a human story. And WWE is quickly finding itself at the center of a storm it cannot control. Let's start with Ric Flair, because if there is one man who can flip this situation upside down with just a few words, it's him. Sources close to the Flair family are saying Ric is absolutely livid, not just angry as a father, but enraged as a man who has given his life to this business. Remember, Ric has been WWE's loyal soldier for decades. He's been through public scandals, humiliations, health scares of his own, and yet he always stood by the company that gave him a platform. But this is different. This is his daughter. And according to people in the know, Ric is considering breaking his silence in a massive way. Imagine the impact of Ric Flair going live on social media, sitting in front of a camera, and calling WWE out by name. Imagine him saying, "You knew my daughter was sick, and you still pushed her to wrestle." Those words would detonate like a bomb across the industry. Fans are already daring him to do it, flooding his Twitter mentions, tagging him in posts, begging him to speak his truth. And if Ric decides to unleash, there's no PR machine in the world that WWE can use to put that fire out. But here's where it gets even worse for WWE. There are rumors, whispers in the locker room, that Charlotte isn't the only star whose health has been quietly brushed aside. A former WWE medical staffer, speaking anonymously, hinted that this isn't the first time concerns were ignored. That single statement is enough to open Pandora's box. If Charlotte's diagnosis shines a spotlight on a larger pattern of negligence, then WWE isn't just facing a scandal, they're facing an existential crisis. Because once the trust of the fans is broken on this level, it may never come back. Fans online are making comparisons to the darkest days in wrestling history, the steroid scandals of the 90s, the tragedies of overworked and ignored talent, the countless lives cut short because health and safety were sacrificed for business. And now, in 2025, with the entire world watching and social media amplifying every voice, WWE is staring down the kind of backlash that no storyline or big match can fix. Meanwhile, Charlotte Flair herself has reportedly been preparing a statement. Insiders say she's conflicted, torn between her loyalty to WWE, the company that gave her everything, and her loyalty to herself, her family, and her health. She knows that speaking out could permanently alter her relationship with the company. She knows that once the words are out, there's no going back. But she also knows the fans deserve the truth. And those close to her say the truth is burning inside of her like a flame she can't hold back much longer. And let's talk about those fans, because their reaction has gone from shock to heartbreak to outright fury. Wrestling arenas are already buzzing with chants of, "We want Charlotte." And, "Shame on you." Directed at management. During live events, signs are popping up, giant banners reading, "Protect the Queen," and, "Cancer is real, stop hiding it." WWE production crews have been frantically trying to confiscate these signs, but the more they try to silence the message, the louder the fans are becoming. It's not just in arenas either. Online petitions demanding WWE address the situation have gained tens of thousands of signatures in hours. Hashtags like #Justice for Charlotte and #Respect the Talent are trending worldwide. And the anger isn't isolated to WWE fans. Casual viewers, mainstream outlets, and even non-wrestling celebrities are sharing messages of support for Charlotte while blasting the company for its silence. When an issue like this breaks out of the wrestling bubble and into the mainstream, that's when WWE knows they're in real trouble. And what's WWE doing about it? Scrambling. Absolutely scrambling. Reports say emergency meetings have been held at headquarters, with PR teams frantically drafting statements, executives debating whether to acknowledge the doctor's revelation, and lawyers warning about potential lawsuits. That's right. Lawsuits. Because if it's proven that WWE knowingly downplayed or ignored Charlotte's medical condition, they could be staring down massive legal consequences. And let's be honest, the public relations disaster alone is enough to send sponsors running for the hills. Sponsors, by the way, are already watching closely. Companies that pour millions into WWE's brand don't want their names associated with a scandal about negligence and cancer. If even one major sponsor decides to pull out, the domino effect could be catastrophic. And for a company that thrives on image and partnerships, the thought of losing credibility with advertisers is almost as terrifying as losing credibility with fans. And here's the thing. The more WWE stays silent, the more guilty they look. Fans are saying, if you have nothing to hide, why aren't you saying anything? Why aren't you showing us Charlotte is okay? But all we get are vague lines about injuries and personal time. No transparency, no honesty, no acknowledgement of the pain the fans are feeling. And that silence is becoming deafening. But let's not forget the human side of this, because while WWE scrambles to save face, Charlotte Flair is beginning her fight. According to her doctor, treatments are already being planned. Radiation, chemotherapy, everything needed to give her the best chance possible. And through it all, Charlotte has reportedly told her inner circle that she refuses to be treated as a victim. "I'm still the queen," she said. "I'll beat this the same way I've beaten everyone who stood across from me." That kind of defiance, that kind of fire, is why fans love her. But it also breaks their hearts, because no matter how strong she is, cancer is the kind of opponent no one can face alone. And that's why the support pouring in matters so much. Fans are organizing charity drives in Charlotte's name. Other wrestlers are publicly pledging donations to cancer research in her honor. The entire wrestling world is rallying in ways that are both inspiring and heartbreaking. Because while they all believe Charlotte can and will fight this, they're furious that she even had to reach this point without the full support she deserved from the company she gave everything to. And if WWE thinks this anger will fade with time, they're dead wrong. This is the kind of story that sticks, the kind of betrayal that fans don't forgive easily. It's not just about Charlotte anymore. It's about trust, respect, and the dignity of every wrestler who puts their body on the line. If WWE can fail the daughter of Ric Flair, the queen herself, then who is safe? The truth is out. The anger is rising. And the pressure on WWE is mounting by the second. Charlotte Flair's fight against cancer is just beginning, but the fight for accountability in the wrestling business is already in full swing. And fans aren't backing down. Not this time. Not when the stakes are this high.